We
are live. We're live. We're live. We're live.
We are live.
Live.
On our end.
So hello, welcome to episode 6 of Digital Music Masters
Show.
So today we're going to be talking about the dip, pushing through the dip,
and answering any questions.
Yep. So this is our live Q&A show for music production and music related topics, subjects. So if you've got any comments or any questions, anything like that, just drop them in the stream and we'll do our best to try and answer them.
Production, mixing, mastering,
songwriting, that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Recording, anything like that.
Yeah, but just check in the stream. We are live.
So,
yeah.
It seems we are live.
So last week we went through analog versus digital. It's quite a technical subject, and before we did a mastering video, which is mastering live stream, which is a very technical subject. Now we're going to go more into the mindset, because any kind of skill, really of value, involves pushing through the dip. And I think a lot of people who start producing music, they get all excited to start with.
Yeah.
It's all new and shiny, and then after a while that kind of fades away.
Same as anything, really.
Yeah, or you might just get excited through kind of external validation, like how many likes or followers you might get, and that might drop. So how do you push through the dip?
Yeah.
So it's the same with anything. Same with, I don't know, like going to the gym or doing a sport or doing any kind of activity. You do get excited as soon as you go. Yeah. And that does wear off, the novelty factor.
Does, yeah. It does. It certainly did about 20 minutes into circuit training yesterday, didn't it?
Yeah.
You know?
So, yeah, it's like doing boxercise or anything like that. You do get excited, or I do, when you first start, and then you can easily give up.
Indeed. So, I mean, I think in terms of the dip, I think, first of all, is accepting that the dip will happen, and that it's just a dip, and that it's normal and perfectly okay, and there's nothing wrong with you, or... You know what I mean? Like, it's just accepting that will happen. But in terms of music production, I would, as quickly as possible, get out of the mindset of, you're doing this because everyone's going to love your music and stuff like that. Just start, like, if you're struggling, if you are in a dip, just start doing small practical things that contribute to your growth as a music producer, but not going in with, I'm going to make this big, awesome track and this is going to be my whole thing. And it has to, because I think we just build up too much expectation in ourselves. And then we try and get into a flow state. And then all this pressure that we've created for ourselves, it just completely depletes our motivation. So I think, go practical, maybe go left brain for a bit. And go, I'm going to tackle reverb today or this week or whatever. Like, remove expectations, get practical, play with some stuff, just play with some sound design. I haven't opened this synth before. Play with that, and just remove expectation and just play.
Yeah, I think, like you're saying there, if you have the mind, if you have that outcome in mind, if you're so outcome dependent, this track must be successful, everyone must listen to me, I must be the best, then you might get depressed, you might... put up too much pressure on yourself. Just have fun and enjoy the process.
Enjoy the process and stop. Yeah, exactly.
So we've got Phil watching, Chris, and Prank IT. Thanks for joining us and leaving some comments. So we've got a question from Phil. Any tips on finishing tracks? We kind of covered this one last week, but I would say do it until it's good enough.
Yeah.
Because you could spend hours upon hours upon hours just doing the same like little tweaks and slowly improving stuff, and a lot of the time you're not even improving it. What I do is I do it as best as I think it's going to be, and then I send it to a mastering engineer and get them to polish it up or master it, because otherwise I'd just be tinkering with it forever and it's never going to get finished. And I don't think I've ever finished a track. I just think that'll do.
You just
and then I send it to someone like Chris or to another mastering engineer, and then get it mastered, and then once it's mastered, I don't want to pay a mastering engineer twice. It's done.
Yeah.
I don't want to go back. So yeah, Prank IT, how you doing? What's going on today? So today we're talking about pushing through the dip. So what we mean by that is when you start something new, you get all excited, and then the novelty wears off, and then yeah, how to push through that kind of thing. There's a book by Seth Godin called The Dip, which is a similar kind of thing to this, but this is more specifically aimed at music producers. So Prank IT, okay, Nuendo, what's that?
Nuendo. It's like Cubase.
Okay.
It's like the sister door to Cubase or brother.
Okay, so the question is, bro, tell me the difference between Nuendo and Logic Pro. Which one's best? I've never actually used Nuendo.
I used it.
Never used it.
Probably 11 years ago, but it's more designed for. I mean, you can use it for production, but it's more designed for post-production film stuff like that. From what I remember,
A bit like Pyramix or something like that, or
more like I don't know.
what was that software that Master Engineer was using at the
Wavelab or something like
Wavelab?
that?
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that.
Okay.
It's more designed for post-production.
Okay.
Sound.
So
stuff.
From what I've just gathered from Chris saying there, if you want to do post-production, maybe explore it.
Yeah.
If you want to compose songs, Logic Pro.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
much in Logic Pro, like just all those software instruments, how easy it is to use. Really, if you there's loads of stuff online how to use it. Nuendo, maybe there's not that many courses. Maybe not that. Maybe you don't have any friends who use it. It sounds a bit cheesy, but go for the one that's generally. If you go for the more popular one, more people are going to use it. So there's more information out there, more people you can bounce ideas from.
Phil asks a very interesting question.
Go on.
Would you say it's better to form good habits rather than setting goals? I think I do believe in habits.
I'm very much about setting goals.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I don't believe in one over the other. I don't think one is the opposite.
For me, I have to set a deadline. Whatever I do, if it's finishing a new online course, if it's finishing an album, finishing a track, any project, there has to be a deadline, and there has to be consequences if it's past that deadline. So negative consequences.
Yeah,
so for me, goals are very important, time-related goals, because otherwise it's never going to get finished. I'm just going to be tinkering, messing around, and never push
really
myself.
a goal.
So a lot of time I might book a trip or an excursion or a holiday or something where I can't finish that project. When I'm there, I can't continue doing the project there, so it has to be out. Or I might tell my audience this is going to be out this day, so I have to do it. So for me, goals and deadlines are very important, because I do think you can get so much done in so much time. But if there's too much time, you stretch it out. Like if you set yourself a deadline, for me,
you'll
so
take
much more gets
you'll
done.
take as long as you give yourself. As simple as that.
Yeah.
But I don't think I think you should absolutely do both. I think habits, habits are more micro. Like. I mean, the number one habit that I would get into, especially, when it comes to actually getting stuff done, is in the morning or the night before writing down what you're going to accomplish on a to-do list on a piece of paper or on a notepad or something like that. That's an extremely good habit, because that in some ways is the ultimate habit, because you're like, oh, I'm going to execute on these things. And then you get to tick them off through the day. And every time you tick something off, you get, a small dopamine release or whatever. You feel like you're accomplishing something.
It depends on what you're doing as well. If you're having fun doing it, it doesn't really,
But also, like...
it doesn't feel difficult.
Also, I think, be okay with how you function as a person. Like, because that just totally differs between people. Like, it's like being a morning person or something like that. For some people that makes sense, getting up at 5 in the morning every single day, just because they function better that way when they've done that. I don't feel like I need that.
I have no idea what's going on till at least 10 or 11.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but it depends. Yeah, I used to do the whole get up super early, exercise in the morning, write down your goals, hit to-do lists. But now I don't know. I guess I form those habits. I don't really do it anymore. I feel like I've motivated myself enough to just do it.
I think
wasn't always like that.
I think I think it's just the habit of setting goals.
I think it's the habit of just constantly addicting yourself to work and doing stuff all the time.
But rewards,
that makes sense.
You touched on rewards earlier, which is a really good and important thing. Like, you are a human being. You do have to kind of hack yourself. You do have to trick yourself into getting stuff done sometimes. It's okay to do that. Like, if you have a reward on the other side of the goal, that's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
You might just be more motivated. Or you might not be the sort of person who responds well to that. You might not achieve, you might not achieve the goal, and then you just go on holiday and, you know what I mean?
I would say experiment with all the kind of typical ones like write to-do lists, setting goals, setting time frames, and try several different ones and just see which one kind of resonate with you and which work.
And get other people to hold you accountable as well. That's always quite a useful hack.
Yeah.
Have a mentor, I don't know, maybe not even a mentor, a friend, you know what I mean? Like just, or you hold each other accountable for your things, you know? For sure. Good habits often result in goals. Absolutely, Chris.
Oh, too late in India. What time?
Oh, cheers, Prank IT. Thank you very much. It's always good to see you here.
Let's look at the time in India now.
It's probably like 6 hours ahead or more.
Oh, it's 11:30. Okay, yeah, it's quite late.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is late.
The UK, it's just after 7 p.m.
7:07. Yeah.
Yeah.
Finishing tracks is a hard one though, because a finished track is a subjective thing, isn't it? It's not like an absolute. So at some point you are just going to have to commit to it. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, I get that problem as well about finishing tracks. There was a guy called Matthew Bourne, who's an amazing piano player and improviser. And I was talking to him, and he was just saying he doesn't feel like he's ever finished a track. Just good enough and sends it off.
Yeah, or like going back to the mastering engineer thing. As someone who's provided mastering services to people, I know I've provided that kind of, especially when I've gone in early, like when the dialogue has been created with me early, not like at, to give you more detail. So when a customer has come to me and said, oh, Chris, I'm going to use you for mastering, it's not finished yet, but can I get your ears on it? That has been really helpful for them to get to the finish line.
Okay.
Like I've said this 1,000 times before, but if you're shopping around for a mastering engineer, do it ASAP. Don't wait until you've finished a mix or whatever, because that might not ever happen. So bring them in and get that sort of accountability. Because, if the mastering engineer, in my opinion, is doing their business well, in my opinion, again, and then you inquire one week, and then you don't inquire again, they probably will chase you up 2 or 3 weeks later, because it's just good business practice to do that or whatever. So you will get that accountability to an extent anyway, and they will help you. Like someone like Chris would totally do that. He'll be like, oh, how's that project going or whatever. Or when we've done mix reviews at Unlock Your Sound, we follow up every so often saying, oh, hey, how's that project going? And it's just, they're like, people are like really well, they respond to that really well, because they're like, oh, thanks for asking. I haven't actually done anything, but you know what? Tonight I'm going to do something about it. Just because you've sent me on that trail of thought,
So Phil Jones, Phil says you have to release it into the wild and move on. I agree.
100%. There's no version of me that would ever disagree with that statement, ever. Because
for me, it's not really the mix that's finished. It's more the arrangement. There's more stuff I could add to this song, more stuff I could change around. Yeah. Could I strip it down? Could I change the vocal? There's so much stuff I think I could change rather than just the mix. So I look at it more as like an arrangement point of view. For me, it's more about the arrangement I want to change rather than the mix generally, but depends on what it is. So yeah, if
cheers, John.
Any more questions? Well, this episode, it's live Q&A. If you're just joining us now, it's also about pushing through the dip. So in any skill, anything you do, there's a certain point where you get all excited because it's new and shiny, and then after a while, that wears off. So there's a few things you could do. Surround yourself with people that are new to it, so they have a lot of fun energy around them.
People is a big one. Like, I went to Norway last year to see a client, and he has, like a group of friends, like a network of other producers around him, and they all go and support each other's stuff, and they all go and hold each other accountable. They all set goals together and stuff like that. And it was like the most amazing thing. Like obviously Norway being beautiful and everything. My biggest takeaway from that was like, oh my God, this human infrastructure thing is actually really, really powerful. They were holding each other, not just for the music, but actually getting stuff done. You know, for clients, I've held them accountable and saying, okay, cool, so we're going to release something this week or in the next 2 weeks or something like that. You know,
there's a few things you can do. Obviously, Facebook groups are pretty good, but it's better to go to actual meetups.
Or just make friends.
Or just make friends of
whatever way you
producers.
do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever way you do that.
If you surround yourself with kind of fun, jolly people who are into that subject, that energy is gonna rub off on you. It's like us yesterday going to the boxer size thing. We were all excited because yay, punch in the bag. The guy, he's probably been doing it for 20 years, wasn't quite as excited, but if he gets the energy of the newer people there, obviously nowhere near as good as him in the slightest. But it's the same in music. Yeah, like I've had peaks and troughs of not wanting to do it anymore and loving it. But yeah.
2 questions. Phil, arranging is harder than mixing in a way to stop and move on to mixing.
I agree. Yeah, for me, even once I've mixed and I want to go back and arrange it, and I do go back and arrange it. For me, most of it's arrangement.
For me, the mix is only as good as the arrangement anyway. You know what I mean? Like the mix is highly dependent on the arrangement. There are a lot of mix issues that sometimes are solved in production or arrangement.
Yeah, it's a heavy metal mixer. Composing and arranging is the hardest part, in my opinion. I don't know about hardest. I'd say it's the part that you can't finish, from my experience. Yeah, and for me, it's the funnest part. Composing and arranging is the funnest part. It's not the hardest, but actually finishing that product, finishing that song, for me, it's to do with the composing and arranging. So Jan says, does mastering electronic music differ from other genres?
Mastering music differs between music as a whole, projects as opposed to categories, like I guess you probably, if it's electronic music, if it's, say, jazz music, you don't really want to compress it too much.
Depends.
If it needs compression, it needs compression. Like you're creating a production master. If the translation of that production master requires compression, compression, like you don't take something, compress it, and it's now compressed. Everything's compressed. It's just a matter of the dynamics that are inside of it.
My point is, if you're doing more of a like orchestral music or jazz music, something more of a live feel, you're probably going to use less extreme.
Probably
effects and
generally,
plugins.
yeah. But I don't think that's the thought process. I don't think to answer
the question, it does differ.
I don't think it does differ. I think you do what is necessary. I don't think it's, for me, to say that it does differ would be to say this is the chain for EDM.
Yeah, I think I'm more talking about mixing rather than mastering.
I think you mix and master what is there, and it's not like, oh, this is the template way to do jazz. This is the template way to do EDM. I don't.
Yeah, but you wouldn't add sidechain compression to an orchestral piece.
But that's a creative effect more than anything. That's that would already be in there. But
there'd be them manually muting the bows and stuff.
But I don't think there is different types of mastering. I think mastering you get to the master and whatever needs to be done. To be honest, 9 out of 10 masters across genres are EQ and limiting.
Yeah.
If I'm gonna generalize, that's mastering right there.
There's so many different genres of electronic music as well.
Yeah, absolutely. But compression is just adjusting the dynamics. Every music has its dynamics. Sometimes it needs more, sometimes it needs less because of its own thing. You know what I mean? It's yeah.
So Phil says, in a way, arranging is part of mixing.
When you mix a lot, you realise that is true. That is a true statement because you're mixing the arrangement at the end of the day.
It depends. For me, I arrange and mix it all myself, so it's just kind of one thing, really. I guess if you send it to a mixing engineer, it's probably a bit different.
But then there are so many. There are so many.
I'd say composing and mixing and arranging all the same thing, really. just writing music and changing
You're just
it.
you're creating a piece of audio at the end of the day.
I think back in the day, it was more like there was a composer, there was an arranger, there was a mixer. Now, if you want to be a musician or a producer,
you're doing all of it.
Yeah, it's all of it really.
Quite often, doesn't mean you should do all of it though, because it's not just for me it's not, even if you are outsourcing mixing and mastering, the purpose of doing that is not so that you can just focus on production and arranging, which is great, but also so you can have a dialogue. Because part of the mix engineer's or the mastering engineer's job will be to sometimes say, hey, you should adjust that in the arrangement, or you should adjust that sound, or you should push that over there. For me,
it's more just finishing the track. That's the main reason I use a master engineer. Obviously, they do master it, but it's, I want to get the song done, or it's never getting done. There's a load of tracks I'm working on at the moment. I could spend forever working on them, but just trying to move on as I make them.
Cool. Interesting questions. Have we answered all of them?
Indeed.
But yeah, if so, arranging is hard. Yeah. To-do list, good stuff. Cool. So we were talking about pushing through the dip, aren't we? So I just think it all comes back down to managing expectations. I've had some big dips in my time through various different things. Some of it's actually producing music. Some of it is, stuff in, motivation in general and stuff like that.
Sometimes you can't push through the dip.
Sometimes you can't, but one thing that I do though is just break it down into the micro thing that I need to do first, or I want to do, or just something. So something happened today, because when push comes to shove, it's about getting up in the morning and doing stuff.
It depends how serious you want to take it. It depends if you can push through the dip. Like, for example, I play football or soccer. I'm never going to be very good. I'm okay, but I haven't really pushed through the dip. Just kind of, you start off excited, then you just kind of plateau. Because unless you train every single day and you're naturally very talented at football or whatever, you're not really going to push through the dip. But music's obviously very different to sports, but mindset, kind of similar. Yeah,
because the dip is just a manifestation.
No, you're never going to be as good as Ronaldo and Messi.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So
but at the same time, most people are never going to be as good as Aphex Twin Square Pusher.
So the dip is just where you are relative to where you expect, what your expectations.
No, my expectations is I'm never going to be Ronaldo.
Exactly. So
I'm doing this for fun.
Precisely. So managing
exercise. Yeah.
So saying that is you managing that expectation to yourself. So it allows you to move forward.
But if in my brain, it's like that kid, Charlie Zenoff, whatever that, who's this amateur boxer, thinks he's a professional. He's delusional. If you're delusional and think you're amazing at something and you're never going to be amazing, you're going to get depressed and put yourself down. So, but music is different. Music's more expressive. There's no binary output.
No.
There shouldn't be.
Phil asked, how often should you have breaks? As often as you need them, I suppose.
When write music? I don't know. It depends if you're in the zone. For me, getting to that kind of flow state, getting to the zone, I like to have stuff around me so I don't have to move for hours upon end. So I have food around me, drinks and stuff. Put my phone on airplane modes, and sometimes if my head's kind of, I don't know, if I'm in that zone, I won't have a break for 8 hours.
Yeah.
Maybe go up to go to the toilet. That's about it, and just sit down for 8 hours. But other times I can't get in the zone. What I'm writing's rubbish. I might have a break every 10 minutes. For me, a lot of it's mindset. I kind of get myself in that zone, that kind of flow state, personally. So I would say, have a break if you have to. Obviously, you get stuff like ear fatigue. I don't really listen to music that loud when I'm writing music, so don't really get ear fatigue. It's more when I'm listening to music for fun.
Yes. John asks, what's your process or method for mix prep? Maybe gain staging. I don't think much about mix prep. I kind of just
You can have templates, but I don't really use them.
No, I mean it depends. It depends where you're coming from. If you're coming from a Logic project that's already there, I'll gain stage the stuff, edit stuff or whatever. I
normally just do it on the fly.
I do my routing and my busing and all of that. That I do a lot actually. I'm very much let's route everything. Let's create all of that stuff.
You can set your buses up.
Yeah,
actually I do that quite a bit.
But it really does depend on what I'm mixing and how and where I'm starting from, because for one client that might be a bunch of recorded instruments. For another client that might be software instruments inside a Logic project with vocals in it, and I work from there or whatever, and from that I kind of create my own mix template within that project.
Yeah.
By creating my own system of busing and stuff like that, so I can compartmentalize that mix into one bus and then work on my mix in another way. But that's kind of my way.
Cool.
In electronic music, etc., especially mixing is more on the artist's part, as maybe in rock or pop, as it's more about the specific sound. I think opinions, absolutely, yeah, because electronic music producers a lot
of rock music's the band playing together. And getting that live vibe, like if you hear like Metallica or something, it's all about the band playing together, getting that live vibe. It's not really that heavily produced.
But also, they are not the producer.
No.
9 times out of 10, they have a producer, and then the producer has an engineer. There's already more people involved. So, but in electronic music, very often they are the everything.
Well, it's different if you're playing a rock band, because I kind of came from rock band background. You're playing with the band, you're getting the vibe, and the recording's basically just trying to capture that live performance most of the time. Electronic music, there isn't really anyone to bounce off. You're the producer. You're the composer.
You are the everything.
You're the everything. So,
like when I first had something released a long time ago, it didn't even occur to me, like in terms of electronic music. They were like, who's the producer, writer, engineer, blah, 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 to put on thing. I was like, me? And I was like, me. And it's like written, produced, engineer, blah, blah, blah by Chris. But that's very much a practical thing. Like, when you're producing electronic music, you're already in the mixer as well. Like, the fader's already there and everything like that. That's not necessarily the same with recording music, Yeah,
well, you don't necessarily need a studio. You don't need to mic the drum kit.
Yeah.
You don't need to, line out DI and line out the bass amp or whatever. It's just inside a laptop a lot of the time. Maybe some MIDI controllers.
In the laptop, you can just as quickly as anything just move on to mixing and then come back to production. You do it. It's all one big process now. Which is a good thing, I think, in a way, because
it's different.
It's just different, yeah. It's just different. It's just
Sometimes
it's just part and parcel of the type of music that you're making, but also the way that you make it, which is also part of the.
Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes it's a lot easier being like the bassist or the drummer or even the guitarist of the band, because you've got one role. Just do that one role. If you're the producer, you've got to be the bassist, you've got to be the drummer, you've got to do all the parts. Really.
Yeah, but you don't become a producer because you want to be the guy who just turns up and plays and goes home.
No, a lot of the time people become producers because they join bands. They get fed up of the girlfriend and the bass player's not turning up because it's his girlfriend's birthday party or something, or the drummer can't come because it's his auntie's wedding, and you're relying on people and they don't turn up. You're like, F it, I just do it all myself. That was a lot of the main reasons why I got into electronic music, because I was just fed up of relying on other people and them not turning up, and I'll learn how to program drums. I'll be all right.
It's definitely easier being a bassist in a band.
Well, if you're Victor Wooten.
Yeah, but it depends on what.
Yeah, if you're in a funk band, you're playing loads of crazy slap bass, but generally, I agree.
What's the difference? Subhunker.
What's the difference in psytrance and trance? I presume psytrance is more psychedelic.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not really into trance, to be honest. Psytrance is probably more trippy than normal trance, from the name.
Colourful.
Yeah, you can probably Google it.
Yeah, I don't know.
We're not an encyclopedia of information.
I'm not a trance person.
Yeah, but I imagine it's more trippy.
I'm not a trance person. I'm not like, oh my god.
Chris has had a guilty pleasure of music this week.
I had to get that bass.
He's been listening to a lot of Euro dance. Yeah.
Well, since yesterday.
Yeah.
I made a playlist on my Spotify called "Get This Out of Your System." I do that quite often, actually. When I've got something in my head that is bad, like in terms of music, in my opinion,
it has a role.
I put it in the playlist and I just rinse it until I hate it, and then it's gone. It's out of my life.
Yeah.
Life.
But yeah, how many beers can you drink in a single night? A lot less than I used to be able to.
Yeah. I don't drink, so that's the answer. So basically 0 by choice.
How many beers can you drink in a single night? Heavy Metal Mixer 91. But the name Heavy Metal Mixer sound like you can drink a lot.
I was going to make a comment.
Yeah.
John.
Because metal and lager kind of go hand in hand. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. So, how to have more than one
Beer
type
is
of
metal.
signature in a project in Logic. You can set it up in what's it called, up the top next to the markers. Yeah, it's quite easy to set up.
Yeah, just on the top of the window.
Drop down. Can't remember
like
the official
just below
name.
the
What's it called? Can't remember the official name. The global regions. Global drop down.
Global tracks.
Global tracks. Yeah.
But I think they renamed it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, there's a little arrow there. Just press that, drop down. You can automate the time signature.
Yeah, there's like a little. It's like that, and then it's got a little.
Yeah.
You just click on that, and then you can do it from there.
So Jan, I switched DAWs from production to mixing. Okay. I do that sometimes with Ableton Live into Logic Pro. I prefer mixing in Logic, but I prefer writing music in Ableton generally. But I do swap it around.
I think that's quite cool though, because like sometimes that's a bit.
Not always. It can be quite annoying.
So why I think it's quite cool is because like it's like going into a different room. You know, it's like, oh, I'm done here. You know, I'm gonna go over here. I used to do that between Reason and Cubase. I'd be like, oh, I'm going into this because psychologically I know I'm in that zone. So this, even though it's purely irrational and not irrational necessarily, but there's no logistical or technical reason it's a good thing, but it does help me sometimes to go, oh, I'm in this place now. This is where I mix.
I disagree. I think it's a lot easier just to do it in one. Because say you want to tweak, you want to go back to the MIDI information and you want to tweak that. It's a lot easier than exporting the MIDI, saving all the channel strips and somehow getting the exact same settings, or exporting the audio and you want, actually I want to add a note there. It's a lot easier just to do it on one digital audio workstation. I do it sometimes from Ableton Live to Logic Pro, but I think it's, yeah, if you can just get really good at Logic or Ableton or whatever digital audio workstation you use, it is a lot simpler.
Yeah, but our brains are,
So concentrate on the composition arrangement as the first step. Then create the best sound as the second. I kind of make the sounds as I go along. I see the sounds or the sound design as part of the composition, because sometimes it could just be one note, but because that sound you use is so powerful, that one note can work. It doesn't have to be, oh, I've got this minor 7 flat 5 chord and it goes into this minor 9 or whatever. It's sometimes like, because just that single note, because the sound design's set up, it's part of the composition process, I'd say, personally.
Phil says, Jan says, Bitwig and Mixbus, right, Chris? So Mixbus, actually, there is actually a technical reason why you might go into Mixbus for mixing, because Mixbus is the one I've mentioned before. Everything in Mixbus is analog modeling. Okay. The whole DAW model's analog. So if that's your vibe, then that makes sense. Psytrance, Phil says, Psytrance tends to have high tempo riffs and synth drums and layered melodies, whereas trance tends to have just repeating melodies. Oh, cool.
There you go.
Thanks for sharing.
So, Shabanka, there's your answer.
Shabanka asks, can we make a vinyl for electronic music? Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, electronic music can be mastered for vinyl.
You can put it on mini disc if you want.
Is there a limitation on it? Absolutely. Every medium has limitations. Well, first of all, it's expensive. That's a limitation in itself. But also, signal to noise, headroom and stuff like that, vinyl is actually quite limited relative to...
I would say unless you've got an audience, a quite large audience, I wouldn't bother with vinyl.
Unless your audience is money-spending vinyl buyers.
Someone like Radiohead, sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Put out vinyl. Maybe 1% of your fans might buy it.
yeah, if you're trying
1% of Radiohead's fans is still a lot of people.
It's a lot.
If you don't really have a big audience online, I wouldn't bother with vinyl personally.
But yeah, Kraftwerk was on vinyl or different. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, they only really had vinyl back then.
Is there any limited? Oh yeah, I've already answered this. But yeah, so vinyl does have limitations. All mediums have limitations in terms of all of the things that we use to measure the fidelity of an audio medium. Things like signal to noise ratio, headroom, dynamics, that sort of thing. Vinyl is absolutely limited relative to even CD, 16-bit.
I would say don't even bother any of that until you have a big audience that you can kind of have as a little sprinkle on top. Digitally distribute your music using platforms. I wouldn't bother with, unless you've like your Kraftwerk or Radiohead.
Because you need to build your brand first.
Build your brand, build your audience, get on SoundCloud, get on Spotify, all the other places, etc. Build your brand up, then maybe sell vinyl. It's just, why bother with vinyl where you can sell it online or get more listens online?
And when you're building your brand, you're trying to go for the for least friction possible. Like trying to get some people, trying to get an audience who loves Spotify to buy vinyl is massive friction at first. You need to be there first.
The artists that have to try hard to get me to. I would listen to an artist like that. If someone recommends it, I'll look. If there's the new artist on Mousetrap, I'll check it out. For example, on the label. Yeah. But the artists I have to do a very good job for me to buy vinyl off them. For a start, I don't own a vinyl player.
Okay, so John asks, now on the other side of mastering, what do you think about the 2496 trend? Okay.
Can you explain what that is?
Yeah, so I'm trying to think of the easiest way to describe this. Okay, so 2496 refers to the fidelity of an audio file. So normal WAV files that we export, especially if we're mastering for like CD or digital distributors, those are normally 44.1 16-bit, which refer to 44.1 kilohertz sample rate, which means you can capture and reproduce frequencies up to 20 odd kilohertz, which is generally generally understood to be the top range of human hearing. You can test this on your own ears. The 16-bit refers to the dynamic range of the medium. So 16-bit is about 96 decibels of dynamics of range of volume. It's generally understood that humans have about 120 before pain. Okay. SPL. So what John is referring to here is these new, not new, but an expansion of that. So you can store files, as we know, in 24 bits now, which we quite commonly do in terms of recording, mixing and mastering, which gives us 144 decibels of dynamic range, which is a lot.
So what does the 96
96 refers to the sample rate, which means we can capture frequencies.
So instead of 48, you could do it as 96.
No, so 48 is the sample rate.
Yeah.
Not a bit depth.
Okay. What's the 96?
96 is a sample rate as well.
Okay.
Which allows us to capture frequencies up to just less than half of that, which is whatever that is.
46.
Yeah, something like that. Now there's a massive trend in digital mastering, I suppose, to create 96 24 masters, because mastered for iTunes is a big part of that, because if you submit a master as a mastered for iTunes master, they will accept masters of a sample rate up to 96 kilohertz 24-bit.
So you think you might as well do it as high as quality as possible, as it's going to be accepted?
No, because
Why?
Because it depends where you come from. It depends where you start. Like, there's not much value in upsampling.
No, but say you downsample to that bit depth.
Yeah, I mean, you'd never downsample to that because there's not many higher places to start from to begin with. That's basically the highest you're ever going to record at, realistically speaking. Let me give you some context. If a client asked me for mastering and they supplied me a 96 24-bit file to master, I would master to 96 24-bit.
But unless you have that, obviously don't upsample.
Then don't upsample. Yeah. There is sometimes upsampling benefit in processes such as true peak limiting and lots of other internal processes. However, a lot of those plugins do it internally, so you don't need to really worry about that so much. There is a lot of different studies and stuff like that. I'm not gonna give you a particular stance on all of this stuff because a lot of this is still really, really
what do you reckon it'd be like in, say, will this be the standard in a few years' time? What do you predict?
It depends. It depends on the market. It doesn't depend necessarily just on technology, because it's not just all about technology, it's about market adoption. So Chris is saying, I get a lot of 9624 for classical recordings, but other genres not so much. Cool. Trends are trends. If people are doing it, I'm not going to turn around as the mastering engineer and go, you shouldn't do that, or this science says this. I'm going to get the job done in the best way for the customer as possible. If they're going to submit to me that way, that's what I'm going to master to. However, you have to also be respectful of the medium that you're mastering to. So if they are using an online distributor and not submitting via a mastered for iTunes submission, which is a whole different other process, the online distributor will only accept 16-bit 44.1.
Okay.
So I need to master down to that anyway, quality control that as well, right? So that they can submit that. If they also want to submit a mastered for iTunes file, I will make a mastered for iTunes file at 9624-bit, and that's fine because I was mastering at 9624-bit anyway, so I can make that master as well, so they can submit it and say this is a master for iTunes thing.
Okay. So for changing from that very technical answer to a fun answer, we've got a question from, can't say his name,
Pitcher Yadiv.
Pitcher Yadiv.
That's
Sorry if I got it wrong. If you must choose only one album to listen to for the rest of your life, what would it be? I might say Grace by Jeff Buckley.
I'm going to say something ridiculously basic and mediocre. Not basic, but
I was going to say Bass
accepted.
Hunter.
I'm just going to say, oh, wait. I might go with Led Zeppelin 4, actually.
Oh, I was going to say maybe Kind of Blue.
Oh,
even Kind of Blue.
Sketches of Spain, actually,
that's
for
good
me.
as well. Even Kind of Blue by Miles Davis, the kind
Yeah.
of cool jazz album, or Grace by Jeff Buckley, personally. Let me know.
I might go with Sketches.
Let's get some discussion in the chat. What albums, if you're going to listen to one album, what would you choose?
It might be Master of Puppets, though.
Oh, yeah. I don't know.
I don't think I can go with
I go through
that
fads of that, like...
Yeah, I know, but you always go back
Metallica.
to it, though.
Yeah.
Or Dark Side of the Moon or something like that.
So,
most adults drop around 15, 16k. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, so Pitcher... I can't say name.
Pitcher Yadiv.
Pitcher Yadiv, what album would you listen to? If you're going to have one. Which one would you choose, is what I mean.
How can I get my music to NCS? NCS?
I don't know what that is.
What's NCS?
Shabank, explain what NCS is. Is it a label? Yeah.
Have I forgotten something? I don't know.
Just going to Google it.
Yeah, just put NCS music or something.
So why did you choose those albums, Chris?
Love them. I don't have to explain that.
I think NCS is a label.
Okay, cool.
No copyright sounds, is it? On YouTube, a label?
I don't know.
No
copyright music.
Okay.
I suppose, I don't know, is it? I don't know.
So
Sorry,
is this a record label? I'd say if it's a record label, try and find someone that works.
I will go with Master of Puppets. Cool.
Try and find someone that works for the record label and befriend them.
Find out who the
try and get your foot in the door.
Yeah.
Try and intern there for free. Try and get your foot in the door somehow. Go on LinkedIn, find out everyone that works there, and somehow maybe go to an event that one of the people, it sounds a bit sneaky, go to an event one of the people who work there are going to be at. Just try and network and just get your foot in the door. Don't email them, don't spam them, don't message them, they're going to ignore you. But if you can physically talk to some of the people in charge and just keep showing up and then hand them a USB stick or just get your face there, that's probably the best way of doing it.
I used to go to these nights where I'll take a CD of my own music and give it to like DJs and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But this was like 14 years ago. I can't choose, to be honest. I like many albums and listening too much to something makes me tired of it, no matter how good it is, says John. Yeah, I mean, the thing with a piece of recorded music is it is the same every single time, so that repetition will get boring over time.
I don't know. If you listen to like John Coltrane's solos, like you're hearing stuff every time. You can't remember.
Yeah, sure. In relative,
Yeah.
but technically speaking, it is physically the same.
It depends what mood you're in as well. Music sounds completely different to me depending on what mood I'm in.
It does. Okay.
Heavy Metal Mix of 91, I presume you're going to choose a metal album? Or did you choose Master Puppets? Yeah. Classic.
Could
oh
be,
man, Cliff Burton on that album is,
yeah.
Insane.
For me, it would be Depeche Mode, Black Celebration.
I've never heard that. Have you heard it?
I can't quite remember which songs are in that album. But
so going back to Shubhanka,
that's a good question.
I would say, just face to face if you can, talk to people there. There's in the UK, there's a site called Company's House. You can find out like who the CEO of what company is. Go on LinkedIn, find out who they are, find out what events that company's got. There's probably like the record label event, like go to all their networking events and just talk to everyone. Yeah, because no one's going to realistically respond to a cold message nowadays.
No, why would you?
Yeah. A&R's kind of dying as well. There's so much of music out there.
Everything's democratizing, the process of getting, making music to people listening to it, consuming it, the public at large is now is down to nothing, basically. You know, where it used to involve companies, countless people, and
you live in India, fly out to where they're going to be if you can.
Yeah, I mean, you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
It's just reality. Isn't
it?
Well,
one of my friends who I talked with flew over to Florida to hang out with him last year. Cost me quite a lot of money. It's like very far away from the UK.
Gotta do what you gotta do.
Gotta do what you gotta do. If it's a good contact, I'm sure there's labels in India that are great as well. It doesn't necessarily have to be that specific label.
How I think of this is, let's say that I wanted to become friends with Elon Musk, right?
That would be difficult.
Sure, indeed. But how I think of it is, Elon Musk knows someone that 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 knows someone, blah, 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 me. Right? There could be a series of connections that could be made there, and if you're just like bringing value to the relationship that's next in line, you know what I mean?
I don't know, Elon must be pretty difficult, but what
Elon's
I'd go and intern for Tesla's headquarters or something, don't they?
Yeah,
work for free somewhere and try and get in contact. Go to the events, the parties, and just.
But what I mean is,
maybe not Elon Musk. That might be pretty difficult.
But what I mean is, there's likely a series of meetings or a series of connections that could be made leading up to that person. It's actually very, very likely for anyone in the world now, because we're all kind of connected in ways. Got it. Thanks, guys. You're welcome. Great production for that album. The synth samplers and drum machines were played through amps and recorded, recorded with mics to get room ambience and other stuff.
Nice.
Reamping is such a good thing. It's such a cool and fun way to just get something a bit different.
It just adds a little bit of dirt. Makes sense.
Yeah, a bit of vibe.
A bit of something else.
Something that isn't software, And it's fun, isn't it? Like, it's just fun.
When it works.
Yeah, when it works. 1986.
Yeah. Wasn't alive then. Cool. Yeah.
Cool. So we've got about 10 minutes, I suppose.
Oh yeah.
Before,
going back to the initial subject of this live stream or show, DMM show.
Pushing through that dip.
Yeah, pushing through the dip. I would say, don't put too much pressure on yourself. Realise what you enjoy doing, what you're good at.
And go long term in your brain. Go, I don't have to be good at this for 20 years. It amazes me the amount of people that ask me, and I don't know, sometimes I don't even know why people ask me, but they ask me like, Chris, why can't I get clean mixes, or why aren't my mixes good? I'm like, and I asked them, how long have you been doing this? I'm like, 4 months. I'm like,
at the same time, you should look back oh, I hate doing this, it's so cringy, but look back at your earliest songs, and if you're not feeling embarrassed, if you're not like shivering with embarrassment and like, oh, then you're doing something wrong.
When you listen
So
to
yeah,
it,
your first few songs are going to be bad.
Yeah.
Period. They are going to be bad. They are going to be embarrassing, and hopefully 10 years later or 15 years or 20 years later, you're going to look back and be really embarrassed. And hopefully music making today, you should look back in 10, 15 years and be embarrassed of this. That means you're progressing. So all you should be looking for is progression, and that's why you'll push through the dip.
Yeah.
Have you ever listened to some of your earliest tracks?
Oh, I don't do that. I just can't take it. I can't take it. They're also in like a massive file system that
They're on an old like.
They're on a
DOS
hard
computer
drive.
or something.
Yeah, they're on a hard drive.
I think mine are an actual like multi-track recorder somewhere.
And the masters are
Pre-laptop.
are just in folders somewhere. But making music requires a lot of time. How do you manage your time? It depends on your time and what.
Depends what you value. If you value something enough, you'll find time for it. It's like people saying they haven't got time to go to the gym, but some people have, some people haven't. Depends what you prioritize. If you make this your full-time career, you've got time to do it. If you're working 2 jobs, maybe you don't have time. It depends. Just try and set, if you can, like an hour a day or an hour every other day, just to focus on music. Cut certain stuff out. Cut watching TV out.
Yeah, do an audit on your time as well, you know, because a lot of people waste time.
Yeah.
Well, in my opinion. John Holt of The Audio Journey says, hey guys, couldn't agree more with how long it takes. Small incremental progress is key, 100%.
Yeah, it's just those little like 0.1% every time. You should be going
it's the compounding effect of it as well.
If you add up.
Yeah, if you're always adding 0.01%, that actually compounds to larger.
Few years, be twice as good.
But it's compounding, you know.
Yeah. Do you have a fixed schedule?
No.
Not really.
Mm-mm.
No, just.
Get stuff done.
I'm quite motivated, to be honest, so I just kind of do it. But initially, I wasn't. I guess it's just getting into a routine, and then a lot of the time doesn't really feel like work if you're producing music or if you're creating courses or anything else. It's if you're teaching or anything music related. I don't know. It depends. Some people fit schedule. I think I have probably more of a schedule than you in terms of I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I don't know. Maybe that depends.
Depends what needs to be done.
Yeah, different for certain stuff.
I don't think about it too much.
Yeah.
Think about what needs to be done.
Depends what type of person you are. If you're a very practical person, you might have to have a schedule. If you're more kind of go with the flow and just do it, probably not. Someone like, I'm just guessing here, but I presume someone like Jimi Hendrix, I imagine didn't really have a schedule. He just played guitar because he loved it and just got very good at it. But some people might have to have like, right, scales time, right, so arpeggio time. Okay, I'm going to study. I'm going to watch an online course on mixing. I'm going to do this. Some people might need a more kind of structure, but it depends on you. Depends how much time you have. But maybe start off with a fixed schedule. Once you get used to that, loosen it up a bit and see what you do.
Yeah. I know some people who fall apart without a fixed schedule, so it comes back down to how you function as a person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we do this. We've been doing this once a week. That's it.
Yeah,
at the time.
Schedule, isn't it?
That's a schedule, yeah.
Even though sometimes we forget to make the event until 2 days before. It's fine. So, so far we've had...
Yeah, if you've got your last comments, questions, drop them in the live chat and we'll try and answer them before we shoot off. But yeah, thanks to everyone that's been watching so far.
Yeah, I really appreciate you sitting in and listening to us. You know, it does mean a lot, to be honest, because, you know...
Madeline says hi.
Hey, Jerry.
Hey, Jerry, how you doing?
What's going on?
You got any questions, Jerry? So yeah, hello Madeline. If you're watching.
Madeline.
Yeah. So yeah, it depends on certain people. Have a very fixed schedule. Yeah. Experiment, probably what I say.
Yeah. I've tried the fixed schedule thing quite a lot.
Did you say schedule? Schedule?
I don't know. I literally thought about that as I said
schedule.
Schedule.
So maybe that's the north-south thing.
What's the... Someone might be able to tell us what the right one is. But I've tried it quite a few times before. But it has worked for me before, but because of where I was in my life at the time and the other things, you know, in my life.
Maybe if you're working, say, a 9-to-5 job, you might have to have a fit schedule to fit music in. But if you have more of a kind of a like freelancer style, you kind of the projects work around you, maybe you don't need one. Yeah, I would say. Yeah, right, we're going to shoot off. Any last questions, leave them now. We're trying to answer them before we go. Otherwise, thank you for watching. DMM Show, episode 6. Episode 7, join us next Wednesday, 7 p.m. UK time.
7 p.m. UK time.
Yeah, so it's the DMM, Digital Music Masters show. If you want to check out
Thank you, John.
all of our stuff we're doing online, head over to digitalmusicmasters.com or just post in the Facebook group, which is Digital Music Masters. So we've got one more question from Jerry. How do we get people to listen to our music? Where's the best place to upload? What works to ask friends and family to listen?
Playlists. It's all about playlists. The whole music industry is now built on playlists.
Spotify?
Yeah, playlists, because playlists are the new radio, and radio is where you blow up. Same thing. Go to Submit Hub. Submithub.com is really good for this stuff. It helps you narrow down into which tastemakers and playlists are good for your music, especially for Spotify, because Spotify is just where stuff happens. Playlist. That's it. Go to Spotify, search for playlists that you think you could be on, and not just playlists like, deep house playlists, but also like music for chilling out playlists.
Oh, they're huge, like music for jogging.
They are huge, and people's careers, you get one entry on one of those playlists, your career is gone. You are now the next thing, like one thing. Playlists, you need to get on them. Go to submithub.com. Get a spreadsheet out. Jerry, I know you'll love that.
He loves spreadsheets.
Get that spreadsheet down. Write all the playlists that you think are great and are very relevant to what you're making, and just find out who they are, where they are, why they are, and
do you think it's a good idea to specifically write music for the playlist in mind? So you want to have like a jogging style song or a gym song, or just
if it helps,
write a load of music and then pick it out.
Yeah, I think that, but if that helps you to get motivated to make something, do it. There's nothing wrong with doing that at all, you know. It's no different to radio or whatever. But the thing is, I wouldn't worry about that too much, because there's a playlist for everything now. It's not like the curation of music is now controlled by big record companies anymore. A big playlist could be made by anyone. You know, it just got enough following. That's it. And go for the small ones at first. Go for the ones that got 100 followers each, because it'll probably be easier to access those people. So make 10. If you get on 10 playlists that have 100 followers, frequent followers each, that's 1,000. That's a good start. Mm-hmm. And then your music starts to appear in the lexicon of Spotify and stuff like that. It starts to go into Spotify's discovery playlist and stuff like that. It's just you're getting yourself in the algorithm, and then boom. Damn, glad I hung around for the absolute gem. Haven't considered playlists in that depth. Thanks, Chris. Very valuable. You are welcome.
So yes, there's a little hidden gem for everyone that stuck around to the end. So thank you for watching. We might see you guys in the Facebook group. Might see you guys.
Thank you.
In the courses. Or we might see you guys next week, 7 p.m. If you want to ask us some more questions, then we'll have a different topic, different theme. Live Q&A. Thanks to everyone that's watched, and we will talk to you next week.